When a man is truly drawn to you, he rarely announces it with a grand gesture or a dramatic confession. More often, it shows up in the smallest, almost invisible ways, especially in the way he reaches for you without even realizing he's doing it. Human connection begins long before words are exchanged, long before confessions are spoken. It begins at the level of instinct, where the body reacts to emotion faster than the mind can translate it. That's why one of the clearest signs he's attracted to you is this subconscious pull toward breaking the invisible barrier that normally exists between two people. Every person has what psychologists call an asterisk personal space bubble asterisk. It's the invisible zone we allow only a select few to enter. When a man is indifferent, he stays comfortably outside that bubble. He keeps a familiar distance. His gestures stay contained. There's no push, no pull, no instinctive desire to close the gap. Attraction changes all of that. Attraction makes proximity feel natural. It makes closeness feel effortless. It makes him lean in, not dramatically, not obviously, but in these subtle shifts of his body that reveal something his words aren't saying yet. You'll see it when you're talking and he moves a little closer, not because the environment demands it, but because being near you feels like the most comfortable place to be. You'll notice it when he finds small excuses to shorten the physical distance, reaching past you, brushing your hand when you both turn towards something, standing just close enough that your shoulders almost touch. These aren't accidents. They are instincts, and instincts don't lie the way words sometimes do. But what makes this kind of reach so interesting is that it's not calculated. It's not part of a strategy. He's not consciously telling himself, "Get closer." In fact, many men would be embarrassed if they realized how often they lean in without thinking. That's because subconscious body language is pure. It's unfiltered. It's the most honest part of attraction. When he moves toward you, even by a few inches, he's revealing something powerful. You have a gravitational pull on him, and this pull often shows up in the way he mirrors your movements. If you lean in, he leans in. If you step closer, he doesn't step back. If you gesture with your hands, he opens his own body language in response. Mirroring is something humans do automatically with people they feel emotionally connected to. It's our way of saying, "I'm with you, I'm attuned to you, I'm engaged in this moment with you." This kind of reach is gentle, intentional only at the subconscious level, and deeply revealing. It tells you he's not just listening to your words, he's responding to your presence. He's gravitating toward you in a way he isn't doing with anyone else in the room. So if you ever find yourself second, guessing whether a man is attracted to you, pay attention to the space between you. Watch how he treats that space. Does he cross it? Does he test it? Does he drift into it without noticing? Because attraction isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers through the smallest movements. And the truth is simple. A man who moves closer is rarely a man who feels nothing. One of the most revealing signs of a man's attraction is how his hands behave around you. Most people think attraction shows up in the dramatic gestures, the bold moves, the grand expressions of interest, but far more often, it shows up in the micro, behaviors he doesn't even realize he's displaying. A man's hands tell the truth long before his words do, because the hands react to emotion with a kind of honesty that the mind hasn't yet filtered. And one of the clearest signs he's drawn to you is when his hands start gravitating towards certain parts of his own body, his neck, his jaw, his chest, especially when you're close by. This self-touch isn't random. It's tied to physiology. When a man is attracted to someone, he experiences a rise in both adrenaline and a subtle kind of nervous tension. His body tries to regulate that energy, and one of the ways it does this is through self-soothing gestures. Touching the back of the neck is a classic example. That area is rich in nerve endings, and when he feels a little overwhelmed by your presence, by your beauty, by the way you look at him, he instinctively reaches for that spot. What he's really doing is grounding himself, steadying the surge of emotion happening inside him. Sometimes it shows up as him adjusting his collar, smoothing his shirt, or running a hand along his jawline. These are regulation behaviors, but they also stem from a deeper instinct. He becomes more self-aware in front of someone he wants to impress. He wants to look better, appear composed, present himself in a way that reflects the version of himself he hopes you'll see. That's why these little grooming gestures spike when you enter the room or when the conversation turns intimate. He's not just trying to look good. He's responding to what you make him feel. You might notice he fiddles with objects too. His watch, a ring, a bracelet, his phone. Anything that gives his hands something to do. And this isn't because he's bored. It's because he's overstimulated. His mind is trying to stay calm while his emotions are alert and awake. Attraction puts the system into a state of gentle chaos, and the hands often betray that before anything else. Another layer to this is exposure. When a man places his hands on his chest or keeps his palms visible toward you, he's subconsciously signaling openness. The chest is a vulnerable area, showing it is a nonverbal way of saying, "I'm not guarded with you." It's subtle, but it matters. Humans don't expose their most sensitive areas to people they distrust. They do it with people they feel safe around, people they're drawn to. So when you observe these gestures, don't dismiss them as quirks or habits. Notice the timing. Notice how these behaviors spike specifically around you. Because when a man's hands begin telling a story, it's usually a story of emotions he hasn't yet spoken out loud. If you learn to read those tiny movements, you'll never again have to wonder whether he feels something. His body will tell you long before he does. There's another gesture that reveals attraction with incredible consistency, and most people overlook it because it happens so quickly, so subtly, that it barely registers unless you're paying attention. It's the way a man reaches toward you, almost, but not quite. These are the micro initiations of touch that stop just short of actual contact. They show up as him lightly brushing past your arm when he doesn't need to, placing his hand near yours on a table as though waiting for an invitation, or leaning close enough that you can feel the warmth of his presence even if his skin never touches yours. What makes these moments meaningful is that they are driven by instinct, not intention. He's not making a bold move. He's not declaring anything. He's simply responding to a pull he may not fully understand. Attraction creates a magnetic field between two people, and the hands are often the first part of the body that tries to cross that invisible space. When a man is drawn to you but unsure of how to express it, perhaps because he fears being rejected, or because he's still assessing how you feel, he'll reach, hesitate, and retract in one seamless chain of movement. It's a dance between desire and caution. This hesitation is important. It tells you he's thinking. He's aware of the impact of touch, aware of boundaries, aware that crossing that line too soon could shift the dynamic in ways he's not ready for. But the reach itself, the initiation, is the giveaway. People don't reach toward what they're indifferent to. They lean into what they want. You'll see this especially in moments when he's relaxed enough to let his guard drop. Maybe you both laugh at something, and for just a fraction of a second he places his hand on your shoulder before pulling it back. Or when he's explaining a story and his hand moves toward yours almost as if to emphasize a point, but then he stops himself. It's the unconscious part of him stepping forward before the conscious part remembers, I'm not supposed to show too much. This kind of almost touch is more powerful than the touch itself because it exposes the internal conflict he's experiencing. He wants to get closer, but he doesn't want to risk misunderstanding you. He wants to connect, but he doesn't yet trust the safety of that connection. So his body ends up expressing both sides at once, the desire in the reach, the restraint in the retreat. And that's where the truth lies, not in the gestures that are confident and deliberate, but in the ones that slip out between moments. If you observe closely, you'll notice how consistent these micro-reaches are. They appear whenever the emotional charge between you rises, during moments of eye contact, shared laughter, deeper conversations, or silence that feels anything but empty. His body leans toward you because his emotions lean toward you. When you learn to recognize these unspoken signals, you stop questioning whether someone is interested. You begin to see the truth written in the space between you, the space he keeps trying in small, hesitant ways to cross. And the next time it happens, instead of wondering what it means, you'll understand. The reach is the confession. There's a kind of touch that doesn't look like touch at all, and yet it reveals more about a man's attraction than any bold move ever could. It's when he uses the environment around you to create a sense of closeness, guiding you subtly without ever fully placing his hands on you. Most people don't recognize how intentional this is, because it's disguised as practicality or politeness. But beneath it is something deeper, a desire to protect, to lead, or simply to be connected to you in a way that doesn't overstep. Notice the way he might lightly place his hand on the small of your back as you walk through a crowded space. Not firmly, not possessively, just enough to signal presence. It's a gesture that communicates, I'm here, I'm aware of you. Even when he doesn't touch, he may hover his hand near you as you move past something, as if creating a barrier between you and whatever might obstruct your path. These tiny, seemingly meaningless choices are actually the mind's instinctive way of saying, I want to be part of your experience. Men don't do this with everyone. They don't guide in this subtle, almost subconscious manner unless they feel drawn to the person in front of them. This isn't about dominance or control. It's about investment. It's about a man who is thinking about your comfort before his own. He's not showing off. He's not performing. He's simply behaving in alignment with how he feels. Sometimes the intention shows up in how he positions himself beside you. He'll walk slightly ahead to open the door first, or a bit behind to make sure you move safely. He'll adjust his pace to match yours without even noticing he's doing it. These shifts are so small that if you're not tuned into them, you'll miss the emotional energy behind them. But those tiny shifts reveal something powerful. His body is orienting itself around you. That's one of the clearest signs of real attraction orientation. When someone is into you, they don't just face you. They organize themselves around your presence. Their gestures, movements, timing, and spatial awareness all subtly sync with yours. They're not trying to take your space, they're trying to share it. And what makes this so interesting psychologically is that these gestures combine attention with restraint. He wants to connect, but he's careful. He wants to be present, but not intrusive. He wants you to feel his awareness, but he's not assuming he has the right to touch you freely. That balance, interest paired with respect, is one of the strongest indicators that his feelings are real and not just impulsive. Because when a man is only physically attracted, he'll touch without thinking. But when he's emotionally drawn, he thinks before he touches, he pauses, he measures. He considers how his actions might make you feel, and that consideration is the doorway to genuine connection. So when you see these subtle guiding gestures, don't dismiss them as mere politeness. They're clues, they're the body revealing what the words haven't said yet. They're the silent language of someone who wants to be in your world without pushing their way into it. And if there's one takeaway here, it's this: the smallest gestures often reveal the deepest intentions. There's a particular kind of touch that tells you more about a man's emotional world than anything he could say out loud. It's the touch that lingers, not in a dramatic or overly romantic way, but in the way that suggests his mind hasn't quite caught up with the fact that the moment is over. When a man is genuinely into you, his body often betrays him before his confidence does. He'll initiate small moments of contact that seem casual on the surface, yet they reveal a deeper internal conflict between what he feels and what he's trying not to show too eagerly. Think about the way he might hand you something: keys, a drink, your phone. That moment where your fingers brush, and instead of pulling away instantly, there's a half-second pause, not long enough to make it obvious, but just long enough to convey, "I noticed that." He may not even realize he's doing it, because attraction is rarely conscious at the beginning. It's instinctive. It bypasses logic. It shows up in those moments his brain doesn't have time to filter. Or consider when he touches your arm during a conversation. It might be a tap, a gentle squeeze, or a brief guiding touch. The giveaway isn't the touch itself. It's how reluctantly he withdraws. His hand leaves slower than it arrived. There's a softness, a hesitation, a quiet kind of affection wrapped into something that looks socially acceptable. He's trying to maintain composure, but he can't fully hide the fact that he enjoys being close to you. What's fascinating from a psychological standpoint is that lingering touches are about presence, not possession. They don't claim you. They don't demand anything. They simply express comfort and interest. A man who doesn't feel anything for you won't linger. He'll keep things efficient, quick, neat. There's no emotional residue in his movements. But a man who feels something, even if he's not ready to admit it, will let his guard down in tiny, fleeting ways. Those gestures become the cracks where his real feelings slip through. And the truth is, these touches often reveal his internal struggle. He wants to express his attraction, but he also wants to respect boundaries. He wants to be close, but he's afraid of overwhelming you. He wants to show interest, but he doesn't want to come across as desperate or too forward. So his attraction comes out in the smallest increments possible, in the pace of his hand, in the softness of his touch, in the way his fingers slow down instead of snapping away. If you pay attention, you'll see that lingering touches often come with another cue: his eyes. He looks at you immediately after the contact, not necessarily for long, not intensely, but enough to check if the moment landed the way he hoped. It's a subtle form of emotional risk-taking, small but very real. These are the moments where attraction becomes visible, even if neither of you is ready to name it yet. And if there's one truth to carry forward, it's this: the touches he hesitates to end speak louder than the touches he confidently begins. There comes a moment in every connection where his physical presence tells you a truth his words haven't yet gathered the courage to express. When a man is truly drawn to you, deeply, instinctively, almost involuntarily, his body will begin to orient itself toward yours with a kind of gravitational pull. It's subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. He'll lean in closer during conversations, even when he doesn't need to. He'll angle his torso toward you, even if the rest of the room is behind him. He'll close the distance without thinking, as though being near you is the default state he keeps drifting back to. What makes this so revealing is that it's almost impossible for him to fake. Words can be rehearsed, confidence can be performed, even humor can be used as a mask, but the body is honest. It moves according to comfort, desire, and instinct, not logic. When a man steps closer, when he unconsciously reduces the space between you, it's not because he planned it. It's because he feels safe with you, pulled toward you, and heightened in your presence. Sometimes you'll notice it in how he positions himself. He might stand beside you when there's plenty of space in the room. He might sit next to you instead of across from you, even if across would be more convenient. He might even hover for a moment when you're talking, caught between wanting to stay near and pretending he's not doing it on purpose. That proximity is not random. It's emotional geometry. He is negotiating his way closer to you in ways he hopes you won't interpret as accidental, yet he's too cautious to verbalize. There's also a protective quality that shows up in his closeness. He'll position himself slightly in front of you when crossing a crowded area. He'll place a gentle hand on your back as he guides you through a doorway. He'll stand a little taller, a little more alert when you're together in unpredictable environments. This isn't about dominance or control, it's about awareness. He becomes more tuned into the space you occupy, more attentive to anything that affects you. Attraction heightens focus, and his focus naturally shifts toward you. This closeness is also emotionally symbolic. You become, in his mind, the center of the interaction. Even when others are present, he orients himself toward you, not out of disrespect for the group, but because you are the person who holds his attention. His body language reflects a quiet prioritization. It communicates, you matter here, you matter right now. And even if he doesn't verbalize that, you will feel it in the way he shows up physically around you. It's important to remember that closeness doesn't always mean confidence. Sometimes it means vulnerability. A man might move nearer because he's drawn to you, yet he still doesn't know whether he's allowed to want you in that way. So his nearness becomes a question he's too nervous to ask out loud. If you notice these small calibrations, the leaning in, the subtle shifts, the protective gestures, you're witnessing a man whose attraction has moved from curiosity to investment. His presence expands around you because his interest can no longer be contained in safe distances. And the truth is simple. A man who wants to be near you will always find a way to move closer.